Welcome to Worldview 2's Washington Report for July 14th, 2025. Joining me tonight is our dude in Washington, our guy in Washington, Jim Pfaff. TheConservativeCaucus.org, TheConservativeCaucus.org. Jim, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be with you. My middle name is Dude, so thank you for recognizing
Our
that.
dude in Washington. I don't even know why I said that, our dude in Washington. I don't think I've ever said that before, but there you go. All right. Rob Schneider, the comedian Rob Schneider, spoke at Turning Point USA. Did you hear what he had to say this weekend, Jim?
I missed that. No, I saw some others, but I didn't see his.
Yeah, it was pretty inspirational. He even talked about your buddy, your former boss, Thomas Massie. Would you like to hear it?
Sure, let's hear it. Let's go with it.
All right, here we go.
We've all encountered those leftists with Trump Derangement Syndrome, those who think anything Trump does must be wrong. But certainly, if someone is claiming that Trump's decisions are never wrong and must be carried out exactly, isn't that just another form of Trump Derangement Syndrome? So,
can we hold right there? That's a great question. Trump Derangement Syndrome, Trump is always wrong. But isn't there a Trump Derangement Syndrome on the other side? Trump can do no wrong? I want to play the rest of the clip, but first, response by Jim Pfaff.
You know, I don't think that there's not a politician in the world, unless it were Christ himself running things, that you could ever say that you would go with 100% of the time. I'll go with Jesus 100% of the time. I ain't going with the politician. I mean, I have great respect for Donald Trump. I like the guy. I think he's been, even with some real situations taking place right now that are concerning, we're so far better down the road with him and as president than really just about any other alternative out there. And I worry about 2028 in that regard, to be candid.
Yeah. Yep, I do too. I do too. All right, here we go.
in that spirit of humility and free speech, I ask these questions. Release all the Epstein files, no matter the consequence. This is America. We'll deal with whatever happens. Now, we have to also ask ourselves something else. Why are we so obsessed with Jeffrey Epstein while 300,000 children have been trafficked in America and are still missing? Why, another question, why is America still sending arms to Ukraine? I have and will always support Israel. Israel's different because if Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran had the capability on October 7th, 2023, on October 7th, if they had that capability of just continuing the attack and murdering every man, woman, and child, they would have done that. Israel is a free country. And Israel is a country that we must always stand by. But until they become the 51st state or a territory, their lobbying must apply as foreign lobbyists. That's not anti-Semitic. You can support Israel completely and unabashedly, but also want AIPAC to apply as a foreign lobbying group. While I want to put Americans first, if we want to continue to have fruits and vegetables in this country, we better find a way to give Mexican workers some avenue to legally do that work, because you and I ain't going to do it. Boo that you want, but if you want fruit and vegetables, you better figure it out. And these are the people that are doing it. So while you disagree with that, I disagree with that, with you on that. America was built on the freedom to question our government, and we must ensure that we don't let that principle slide. Dissent, to disagree, and your right to speak out, to protest, to challenge authority without fear of censorship or government reprisals is essential to our liberty. We need to hear what Thomas Massie has to say always. Boo all you want. That's the beauty of this country, isn't it? I support it. I support your boo, but let's debate it, and let's talk about it, and let's hear what Thomas Massie always has to say. Free speech, the open marketplace of ideas. This is what made our country great. The fact that you could boo something I say and that I could disagree with you is going to always lead America to a better place than silencing each other.
What do you think of that, Jim?
I think, as is typically the case, me and Rob Schneider are on the same page. The only thing, like, he's not anti-Trump. He's actually pushing Donald Trump overall in that. Now, of course, there are two key areas where there's disagreement. Trump does not want the Epstein files released. I also disagree with that. I think they should be. I do not think that the Epstein files are going to take down the deep state. I think it'll take down some deep staters, but I don't think that's how we're going to get to the issue. That's a symptom. That's not the main cause. The main cause is people like Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, Susan Rice, who all put together a system to conspire to take down a duly elected president. And until you can get at what caused that, you will not get rid of the problem. So I put the Epstein files as serious, but not the most important thing that we need to do. And Donald Trump rightly laid out many of what those things are in his Truth Social post, where he was calling to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein. So there's that. The second thing is Thomas Massie. You can have your beef with him all you want to. And Thomas is not perfect. He's a friend. I love the man, and I'm grateful that for that friendship and for having been able to work with him. But he's not perfect. But I will say this. If Donald Trump had 220 Thomas Massies, he would get everything he wanted and more. If he had 220 Tom Tillises, he would never get even what he's gotten so far out of Congress, which is, in my opinion, far more limited than it should be. And they're about to double down on that because they're not going to go with Trump budget levels that he's going to present to Congress. They're going to go above that. So the weak part of the Trump agenda is Republicans in Congress. Donald Trump needs to understand that very clearly. And I get how he tries to make sure he can negotiate with members of Congress that, it's their job to legislate and not his. And he respects that. And I think that that's great. But he does need to understand where the center of his main opposition is. And it's not even primarily Democrats, at least not in this Congress. It's the Republicans in Congress. So Rob Schneider's got a great take on things. Like he's been a comedian. He's been someone around Hollywood for a big part of his life. But he does really get what's going on here. And he's a very intelligent guy. I've never met him. I'd love to sometime. But I think he's right on target.
All right. The big story today, of course, is this clip right here. Here we go.
And we've made a deal today, and I'm going to have Mark speak about it, but we've made a deal today where we're going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States, will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it. Our last meeting of a month ago was very successful in that they agreed to 5%, which is more than $1 trillion a year, so they have a lot of money. And these are wealthy nations. They have a lot of money, and they want to do it. They feel very strongly about it, and we feel strongly about it, too. But we're in for a lot of money, and we don't want to do anymore, and we can't. But we make the best, and we're going to be sending the best to NATO, and in some cases to maybe, at Mark's suggestion, if we go to Germany, where they're going to send early on missiles, and they'll be replaced, and NATO is going to take care of it. It's going to be coordinated. NATO, and they're going to work very much with Matt Whitaker, who's right here, who's a great ambassador, and Matt's going to be coordinating. You better do a good job, Matt.
I will.
But Matt's going to coordinate. He's a very talented guy. He's going to coordinate everything. So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons, and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries where we can get a little additional speed, where the country will release something and it'll be mostly in the form of a replacement. And I'd like to have Mark, and again, just a highly respected, pretty young guy for having had the career that he's had, because he had an amazing career before going to NATO. So we spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months. And if you could say a few words.
Absolutely.
All right. Before we get to that, what is with all the gold in the Oval Office? I mean, the fireplace and everything now is encrusted in gold. I mean, that looks like Trump Tower 2.0. I don't think I've ever seen a president do that. I mean, I don't know what the architects of the White House or the guy in charge, the curator, because it's really a museum owned by the people. I don't know if that's painted on there, if that's fake, and they'll just pull it off and repaint the fireplace after he leaves, or what the scoop is. But whew, that's got Trump written all over it, doesn't it, Jim?
Well, I can't remember precisely what it looked like unless you got a picture of it under the Biden administration, but that looks awfully similar to me. Maybe they've touched it up a little bit. I think it's always right there. That particular
nothing like
spot.
it.
Oh, no, I'm glad to look at a
bring you
previous
up
picture. I just don't remember. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll bring it up. Hang on here. Let's see. Biden Oval Office. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, images.
They
Logan,
may have taken
you finding
that fresco
one?
and put gold over it, but I think the background wall has kind of been that color. Maybe
Here we
maybe
go.
I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% wrong. I hate to say. All right, here it is. Here it is.
To the left there, though. I don't know. You'd have to look
That's
to the
gold.
left.
That's gold. That's Christmas. That's Christmas decorations up there. But yeah, look, here's another one. Here's another one.
Oh, go ahead.
Here's another one.
Yeah, right there. Okay, so yeah, they have changed it. Hey, listen, I'm all for it. I know it is pretty wild.
I'm not saying I'm not
all
for it. It's not my style, but it's definitely Trump style. It's Trump's.
Yeah,
it's Trump
and
style.
listen,
but I just think, see, now look at that.
Every president puts their mark on the Oval Office and on the White House. So kudos.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I just think it's funny. I'm not criticizing. I just think it's funny. Look, I'm a student of history. I love history, and I love the Oval Office and the White House and the history that goes with it. In fact, that plant up there, you see that plant up there? I used to have a clipping from that plant. That's been there. I think since Eisenhower. I used to have a clipping until about 2 years ago, for about 20 years. 18 years, I had a clipping at a plant from that. The former pilot of Air Force One gave a clip. His wife gave a clipping to my friend. My friend gave the clipping to me, and I had it and kept it for about 18 years. Then we went away, and someone didn't water it, and it died. But yeah, so I'm a student of I love studying the Oval Office and the presidency and all that. But yeah, I knew that's what I don't understand. Are they painting? Did they come in there with gold paint? How did they get all those things in the swirling?
It looks like they put some wood frescoes over it, over the fireplace there. That's what it looks like to me, now that I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, because this is kind of like marble. That's like real marble right there, right?
Right.
Looks like a marble fireplace.
And they've encased it, it looks like, somehow.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely onto something there now. I think they have. I'm trying to find where we were, but yeah, they've done something to protect it so that he can then do what he wants to do with it. Here we go. We're back here. Here we go. Where's that? There we go. There we go. Oh yeah, see, look at the difference. So I don't know. But it's gotten more. It's gotten more as the days have gone on, because now it's being. Yeah, that's old. It's being painted in the crevices and everything now. I mean, they are going to town with the gold. Man. All right. Well, anyway, sidebar. There we go. Here's the newer. Look at that. Woo! They got it in the crevices and everywhere.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. I just find that interesting. All right. Well, what do you make of funding more for Ukraine, NATO? I mean, this has got people upset.
Well, I'm not a pacifist, okay? I'm against going to war all the time, but I'm no pacifist. As I say many times, we need to have a butt-kicking military that we never use. We want that, in my opinion. But if they're going to sell weapons to Ukraine, the other thing I'll say is this: Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Like they do have a right to retaliate against that with military force. My problem is that we've been funding it all. It's not our job to fund it all. It's not our job to fix all the war problems around the world. That's not what we should be doing. And so I think very important to note that if he's going to make this deal and if Europe's going to pay for it, I'm not sitting around wringing my hands about that. Now, I do have my problems with the military-industrial complex, and they're going to make a buttload of money. And in that sense, there's a little bit of smarminess to it because, frankly, Zelensky's made this a real problem. But Putin is not proving what he's claimed, that he felt that there were some bad things happening in the Donbass, and he wanted to protect Russian people. He's clearly well beyond that and showing now, or at least seemingly showing, that he wants to take the whole country. So if someone else wants to pay for it, fine. I don't want to pay for it. I'm tired of paying for wars that we go into unnecessarily and paying for other people's wars. If they want to pay for their own wars, fine.
Yep. But I also don't want to be encouraging war, because I don't want to see war happen. So I don't want to be falling into the hands of NATO and pushing them to this suicidal desire to go against a massive nuclear state like Russia. I just think we ought to be de-escalating this, not escalating it.
Well, I subscribe to the Augustinian theologically. I subscribe to the Augustinian description of just war theory. Ukraine was invaded. They do have a right to defend themselves. War is always bad. There's never any glory in war. There's never any good with war. But when a country needs to defend itself, when aggressive action comes against them, then it is their right to go to war. It's just not my responsibility to pay for it unless it is directly a threat to my own country. And Ukraine's not a threat to my country. So
I would also say that if they want to drag NATO weapons into Ukraine up against Russia, then it's Russia's right to defend their borders from an existential threat that they perceive.
Well, that may be, and that's where this messiness of war comes into play. Like if Ukraine is going
exactly.
If Ukraine is going to be utilizing these weapons on their own, from their own military capabilities, with men fighting for them out of their own population, then that's a far different thing than NATO coming in and drawing us into an Article 5 situation, which, for those who don't know, Article 5 is the agreement that if any NATO countries are attacked, then all the other NATO countries come in to defend them. So that would be my only concern in all this. But if Ukraine is utilizing weapons that they purchased and are capable of purchasing, or if European countries want to pay that, I mean, that's a different issue. I'm not going to tell them what they ought to do. As long as we're not paying for it, and as long as NATO's not getting directly involved with Russia, then, and Putin's going to argue against that. He's going to be mad that those weapons are being given to Zelensky, and that's where a lot of people are going to come back with what I'm saying and saying, well, that's the problem, because now they're going to perceive that we're in the middle of the war. I don't quite see that. I think Ukraine, if they're capable of doing it, let them do it on their own. I'm not going to fight their battles for them. And Russia, Vladimir Putin is an evil man. Like I think that some of the way that we deal with Russia goes way overboard. But I don't think that Putin is a fair or good actor in all this, notwithstanding all the stupidity of Joe Biden's part that led to this war even starting to begin with. So I'm not going to sit around and defend Vladimir Putin, but I'm not going to defend Zelensky either. So as long as we're not paying for it, and I'm not convinced yet we're not going to be, but I'm hopeful that Donald Trump really can pull that off, then let them fight their war. I got other more important things to deal with over here.
You got that right, including the Islamists that are taking over the country, and the Marxist Islamists that are running for mayor of New York and now New York City, now mayor of Minneapolis, and then they're taking over Texas, and the DOJ wants to close down investigating that, which we got some serious problems here. All right, let's go to Politico. The headline: Cole, Hill GOP likely to pursue funding top line above White House request. The top House appropriator has been talking with his Senate counterpart about top lines, but he didn't rule out another continuing resolution to fund the government. What's all this about? Dated July 14th, 2025.
This is what I was referring to earlier. The president is putting out a budget with certain levels, and it is the prerogative of Congress to set their own spending levels. I mean, it's their prerogative to legislate, and it's not common for the Congress to go with the budget that the president presents. That's rarely happens, maybe certain points of it. But in this case, if you're going to run your number above, if your top line number, remember, this is discretionary spending they're budgeting, not the non-discretionary spending, which is all those programs that the reconciliation bill dealt with. You have to change policy to change that on this part of legislating. But so this is the right now, I think it's $1.7 or $1.8 trillion of discretionary spending. We were below $1 trillion, just for comparison, in 2019. I think we were just under 2 trillion, or maybe it's 1.1 trillion. I think it was like $900 billion then. And that was way outrageous. So we're spending so much freaking money, it's crazy. We were spending 4.5 trillion overall in federal outlays in 2019. If you adjust it for inflation to this year, that's about $5.37 trillion. That's even with all the Biden inflation coming into play, or the end results of it. We would get rid of the deficit. That's almost entirely if we would just get back to those levels. This is where Congress could really do things and really get us back in order, but they're not going to do it. And Democrats are going to fight against it in the Senate. But it's absurd that Republicans constantly are buying into the Washington way of doing. Many of them, quite frankly, are scumbags. I'm just sick and tired of it. Well, no, sorry, Mr. President, we're going to go above that. Lindsey Graham did this when the reconciliation package was sent over to the Senate initially. Yeah, they did their thing there, but we're going to fix it here in the Senate. And I'm like, screw you guys. I'm tired of you constantly pushing back upon what the American people want. And if Donald Trump's ratings are slightly going down, by the way, he hasn't taken quite the hit after the whole Epstein thing over the weekend that I thought he might have. He's at 48% now. He's been between 48 and 54% after the initial honeymoon period. It's outrageous that these Republicans will not do something, take the hits, take the political courage that the American people want from them. And it's why there's still a risk of Republicans losing the House and the Senate in 2026. They grab defeat out of the jaws of victory all the time, and I'm just sick and tired of it. And it's stuff like this that makes that happen.
All right, let's go to another clip. Here's Lindsey Graham. Here we go.
Well, just stay tuned for tomorrow's announcement. The idea of America selling weapons to help Ukraine is very much in play. We've given Ukraine a lot. We've given them money. We've given them military aid. We now have a minerals agreement with Ukraine that's worth trillions of dollars. So I don't want to get ahead of the president, but stay tuned about seized assets. The Europeans want to limit the interest on the assets to go to Ukraine. Secretary Bessent wants to go further. Stay tuned about a plan to go after the seized assets more aggressively. Stay tuned for a plan where America will begin to sell to our European allies tremendous amount of weapons that can benefit Ukraine. Putin has calculated that we would get tired and Europe would get weary. He made a huge mistake. NATO is bigger and stronger, and we're more committed to ever to make sure he does not take Ukraine by force. So Congress is on the verge of passing the most consequential sanction package in the history of the country. It will give President Trump tools he doesn't have today, a literal sledgehammer. And the big offender here is China, India, and Brazil. India buys oil from Russia cheap and resells it. That's despicable. I've talked to President Trump. He said last week it's time to move. He's tried to entice Putin to the table, but my goal is to end this war, and the only way you're going to end this war is to get people who prop up Putin, make them choose between the American economy and helping Putin, and you can only have one negotiator, and that's going to be President Trump with maximum flexibility to end this war. China, India, and Brazil, you're about to get hurt big time if you keep helping Putin.
Okay, well, there you go. A lot of conservatives emailing and texting me about interviewing the former, was it Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina that's running against him in the primary? And I think we're trying to set up an interview with him.
You should. We've been in contact with him too. I think it's time for this guy to go. Like, let Europe be dedicated to this. I'm tired of us being dedicated to it. I do not like sanctions regimes. I was talking to someone today, and I think that Donald Trump's tariff approach to go after Russia, I think may be quite appropriate thing to do. I'm still thinking through it. Mm-hmm. But see, what that tariff regime does is it puts a hammer in there on Russia that I think that they deserve. But to do sanctions regimes, all that means is that we're going to utilize efforts to go into the banking system to go after Russia. And there are other things too, but the banking system's a big one. And all that means is they have the same regime to go after any person anywhere around the world. I mean, we've really got a big problem with the way that banks are aligned with these government efforts to take down one another. This is where the problem of sanctions regimes are. But I think Donald Trump's tariffs approach, in my opinion, is the way to go. Now, in terms of India, just real quick, India's had a long-standing relationship with Russia, and I mean, I don't like it either. I know India well. I've been to India quite a bit. I did business in India for a few years. I love that country. But they have a historical connection to Russia. They were historically connected to the Soviet Union. It was a problem for us during that time period, and they were a more socialist-oriented economy at the time. They've been loosening things up. I think it's good to go after them on this and say you've got to stop that at a time when we ought to be drawing closer to them. But, that's a little bit of a concern. Brazil is a big problem for us in this hemisphere, not just on this issue, but in this hemisphere. You've got a government and a Supreme Court down there that is trying to censor speech in the United States, and Brazil really needs to get the hammer on them. Donald Trump's begun that process. So in the tariff end of things. But I'm not a big sanctions person. I think it just turns into worse and worse problems, and it just continues this international banking regime that allows banks to take on people who are not politically favored. It might seem like a good idea against Russia right now, and there might be good reasons why you might argue that, but it's the same thing that allows that to happen that's just going to allow some future president or future consortium of international countries to come and take down maybe in Argentina because they don't like how free their system is. And Javier Milei gets a lot of criticism. So this is the problem with sanctions regimes in my mind.
TheConservativeCaucus.org, TheConservativeCaucus.org. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Brandon.
And folks, thank you for watching and for supporting the broadcast network. Please go to worldyoutube.com/sponsors. Check out all those great sponsors, including our foundation. Don't forget about Bella Grace. I take it each and every day. Powerful elixir with 8 clinical trials behind it. No, I'm sorry, 80 clinical trials behind it. Gatatana, Bella Grace, Numi, it's all there. WorldviewTube.com/sponsors. Till next time, I'm Brandon House. Thanks for watching. Take care.
You are watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brandon House.
Tonight on the Worldview Report.